To you from not sunny, but very, very snowy, beautiful Utah. So, I wanted to do a very quick video this morning about Tesla pausing their new full self driving beta installations. This is not, quite frankly, a surprise at this point, but it does tail into something that I think is important to at least have a little bit of a discussion about. So, first of all, the news here. So, Tesla pauses their new full self driving beta installations until the recall is addressed, and this is from The Verge. I will leave a link to this in the description, of course. Tesla has temporarily halted installations of its controversial driver assist system after federal safety regulators deemed it posed a crash risk. The recall affects nearly 363,000 vehicles. So that would be all of the vehicles in the United States and Canada, as far as I understand it, that have full self-driving in it. So here we go, the article itself. Tesla is putting a hold on new installations of its FSD Beta software in the US and Canada until a firmware update can be issued to address a safety recall, according to a new company support page. The automaker issued the recall this month at the request of the NHTSA NHTSA, which determined that the advanced driver assistant feature could pose a crash risk. It's unclear exactly, they do have specific instances where this could happen. It's unclear whether a crash has ever occurred or not. So crash risk different from actual crash. So I don't know about that. Tesla vehicle owners who may have just purchased the $15,000 full self-driving add-on or previously bought it but have yet to opt in will not be able to access it until after the automaker issues an over-the-air software update. So again, not going to be recalled to you don't have to take the car to Tesla. It'll be an OTA update just like most of these other things. But the big effect of this is if you haven't installed full self-driving beta yet, you will not be able to install full self-driving beta for a period of time. Now, I don't know what the limit is, but there is going to come a time, like let's say, I think April 1st is the date that they have set themselves to actually create this over-the-air update. So they're on kind of a clock. We're only looking at less than a month now for them to be able to make this update. And the question is, if it goes much longer than that and people have paid for this but don't have access to it, some people might get a little bit pissy about that. So it is quite possible. $15,000 is not an insubstantial amount of money. And if you've paid it and you expect to get full self-driving beta and you can't, I could see a lot of customers being rather upset about it. Anyway, here's for those who already have full self-driving beta installed, here's an important paragraph. Those who already have FSD installed and activated can continue to use the software as is, but you won't see any new features until the issues identified by NHTSA are addressed. The recall affects, basically all the cars that are out there at this point. The current FSD Beta advanced driver assistance software could cause vehicles to break traffic laws and make risky maneuvers. Tesla indicated the following problematic behaviors that could happen. And I'm going to, I just want to jump down here. I'm going to go to their actual page, Tesla's actual page, in just a minute and go through that stuff more. But it is important to note here, Tesla currently calls FSD Beta software a, quote, SAE Level 2 driver support feature. So, well, as it says here, which means it can steer, brake, and accelerate automatically with a driver present. The driver operating FSD must be engaged and ready to take over at any time and is also completely responsible for any mishaps the system could make. So, there you go. So, it is an interesting little conundrum here that they've got this software where the human is responsible for all of this stuff, and yet they're still, in a situation where NHTSA is not pleased about the fact that the car could enter into risky behaviors. Anyway, so, and then it goes on to the beta and all that stuff. So, all right, and then over to here. So, I don't know why this has shifted so far to the right on this page, but anyway, I'll just move this over here. Anyway, let's go. Sorry about that. Yep, I'm actually going to get to that other thing just a minute that you just saw. I'll talk about that in just a second. But anyway, the updated vehicle firmware to improve certain FSD beta driving operations. This is from Tesla's own site. Tesla has issued a voluntary recall on certain Model S3, X, and Y, basically everything that has full self-driving beta. And you can see, let's see here. Yeah, here we go. So here's the thing that they were talking about right here. These are the 4 situations apparently identified that need to get fixed. Number 1, traveling or turning through certain intersections during a stale yellow traffic light. So basically the car up until this point, and I actually noticed a difference in behavior driving to the airport just a couple of days ago, that the light turned yellow and the car braked rather aggressively. I kind of figured I personally would have gone through I would have gone through the light at that point. I didn't consider it very stale. It turned yellow and it was one of those like, yeah, you can brake pretty hard or you can go through, and it was on a highway situation, so you're going relatively quickly, and I was like, I would have just gone through. The FSD Beta braked, and I don't know because I don't think there have been a lot of software updates about this at this point, but at least from my experience, that was different than previously. Previously, the car would fairly aggressively go through a yellow light. Again, I've never had it, sorry. Traveling, skiing, my voice is what it is. But anyway, I've never had the car actually go through a red light, but it has gone through yellow lights where I was like, ooh, that's been yellow a long time. So anyway, clearly what they're going to do is lower the threshold so that if it thinks it can brake, it will brake from now on. So that's the basic thing with the yellow light. I don't consider that a massively dangerous thing personally, but obviously NHTSA is concerned about that. Number 2, the perceived duration of the vehicle's static position at certain intersections with a stop sign, particularly when the intersection is clear of any other road users. So this is kind of an ironic situation. It's basically saying it may not understand exactly where it is, and it may not come to a full stop, right? The perceived duration of the vehicle's static position. Essentially, that just means, does it come to a full stop when literally nobody else is around? And this is a ridiculous situation. Us human beings, at least in the United States, if nobody's there, you slow to a reasonable speed, like less than 5 miles an hour, and then you go through the stop sign. So yeah, officially that's illegal, but also everybody does it. So unfortunately, they're going to make the car stop even longer at these empty stop signs, which is kind of ridiculous. But anyway, be it as it may, that's the government for you. So anyways, so the irony of the whole situation is obviously it should come to a stop and it should wait and be patient when there are other vehicles around, but when there aren't, does it really matter if it rolls through or stops for less than a second or something like that? But anyway, Tesla's going to have to increase the amount of time that the car is actually at rest at a stop sign. So, Number 3, adjusting vehicle speed while traveling through certain variable speed zones based on detected speed limit signage and or the vehicle speed offset setting that is adjusted by the driver. So basically, if I scroll up or down the speed limit, the car should be more aggressive about following that. More importantly, when it passes, like a lot of times in the US at least, we'll go from like a 55 mile an hour zone to a 45 mile an hour zone to a 35 as you enter into a city from a highway situation. And the car is very, very unaggressive about slowing itself down. It's like, yeah, I'll get there eventually. And not only is that dangerous, of course, because you're going faster than the speed limit, but it's also potentially lead you to getting a ticket, because a lot of times those speed reduction areas are where police like to sit to get people in what's called speed traps if you're not from the United States. I think that that's true everywhere, but anyway, at least in the US, they often sit right at those places where the speed limit sign reduces, and they'll get you. So hopefully what Tesla will do is actually read the upcoming speed limit signs. So generally speaking, you're going 55 and there's a thing that says 45 mile an hour speed zone coming up, and then you get the 45 mile an hour thing, so that you as a human go like, oh, it's going to slow down in a minute. And so you already can slow down to hit 45 or whatever offset you want to be, if you want to be driving 50 in that zone, whatever. But anyway, so that you're already there by the time you actually hit that zone. So obviously Tesla needs to work on this. This, in my mind, this is actually the biggest of the issues that they have here, at least, from my experience. I can't tell you what everybody else's is, but this one actually does need to be addressed. It's a fairly simple thing. It just means it needs to aggressively try to achieve that speed limit as you enter those zones. And hopefully what it will do is it will see the upcoming speed limit change sign and pre-prepare by kind of starting to slow down before it even gets to that zone. So we will see what happens with that. And number 4, negotiating a lane change out of certain turn-only lanes to continue traveling straight. So I'm not exactly clear about what this is, but it sounds like what the car will do is sometimes get into a turn-only lane, realize that that's bad navigation information, it needs to go straight. So it's trying to go straight, but it's in the wrong lane. And I guess what it'll do is it'll move over and try to go straight. I really haven't had this experience personally, but I guess other people have. So anyway, hopefully what they will do is they will, I guess there's 2 failover situations. Number 1, you're in the turn lane, you're just going to turn and you suck it up and do that, right? So it's like, as a human being, I'm sure you've had that experience before where you're just like, oops, I'm in the turn lane. I guess I have to turn, and then I'll have to figure out how to get back on my route again. That kind of sucks, but that's the way it goes. Or number 2, to realize that it's in a turn lane earlier and try to get over into a through lane in the meantime. So these are situations that I haven't experienced myself, but if you have, I would actually be interested. Let me know in the comments if you have, and how the car behaved. But obviously, what it needs to do in those circumstances is have a failover sort of situation where, number one, if it finds itself in a turn lane and it can't get out of it, just go ahead and make the turn, reroute, figure out how to get back onto your route again. And number two, if it's early in that turn lane and it can get over and it's safe to do so, to get over potentially slightly more aggressively than it does right now. In other words, I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean, like, instead of just going like, if you've only got like 100 feet until the light where the turn lane is and there's no traffic around and you're in this turn lane, so get over pretty quickly. Don't turn on the blinker and sit there and think about it for a while, and by the time you're actually trying to move over, you're already up at the light and you can't get over. So it needs to do it more assertively if it finds itself in that situation. So anyway, these are the situations. The really important part about this update is that, number one, people who don't have full self-driving beta now will not get full self-driving beta at least until somewhere around April 1st as a guess. That seems to be the date that they've set themselves for making this happen. And number two, and perhaps more importantly to people who have full self-driving beta, while you won't get the update to version 11, which kind of sucks, you will still be able to use full self-driving beta. So that's a good thing. Now, this brings up another point, and I'm going to do another video on this, but I at least want to sort of tease this idea. And that idea is, has this been released too widely too fast? Has the full self-driving beta been released too widely too fast? So everybody can think about that. I, in the meantime, am going to go skiing, and I will do that video probably tomorrow if I have time. We'll see about that. But anyway, the final thing that I wanted to talk about, this is nothing to do with me, but this has to do with Ellie in Space. She sadly broke her femur yesterday climbing bouldering. And if you don't know what bouldering is, it's basically climbing in a gym or outside with a mat or something like that, not with ropes. So you usually don't climb very high, but somehow, very freak accident, this sounds completely crazy, but she fell somehow awkwardly and broke her femur. And as I record this, she is currently in surgery. So if you want to check her stuff out on Twitter or on YouTube or whatever, I just wanted to let folks know about that. So send her your good thoughts, obviously, and hopefully she will recover very quickly and be back at it again real soon. So anyway, I just wanted to send out my good thoughts, and I hope everybody else does as well. In the meantime, everybody have a lovely day, and I will see you all in the next one. And in the meantime, it's snowing outside. I'm going to go skiing. Bye-bye.